and welcome back to Dimensional Soul Healing with your host, Gracen Kahn. Let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Oh, the experience that started it all. So, back in 2020, I was freshly new to Utah, and I moved all the way here from South Carolina. I drove a 32-hour drive. It was pretty crazy, pretty wild experience. However, unforgettable for the most part. And at the time, I was so not into spirituality. I was not a crystal believer. I didn't, get involved with those kinds of things. I just kind of just lived my own life on automatic, just unconscious, just kind of did whatever I wanted to. And anyways, fast forward to about 3 months after living in Utah, my ex-husband and I went to the mall. And we saw this little crystal stand, and he stopped there and he was like, babe, do you want to go check this out? I was like, sure. And so we go and look at all the crystals that they had up for sale and everything. And the one that I was drawn to right away, it was moldavite. And back in 2020, I don't think moldavite was super well known and super popular. I didn't even know about it. And I was asking the woman at the counter, and I said, what is this crystal? And she goes, oh, this is moldavite. It's a meteor. It landed here on this planet so many years ago. It's pretty rare. And it was only $20. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll take it. And I also bought, it was an amethyst pendulum. I was super drawn to that. And I got some rose quartz, some lapis lazuli, some blue celestite. And I think those were the only things that I bought. And so anyway, I went home and fell asleep with my amethyst pendulum on my nightstand, fell asleep with my moldavite on, it was just right over my heart chakra. I had no idea what chakras were at the time. I was so unaware and so oblivious to all the spiritual, lingo and everything. So anyway, I was having a hard time sleeping that night. I was tossing and turning, just back and forth. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to fall asleep on my back since I never sleep on my back. I'm like, maybe if I try this, I'll fall asleep. Literally the second I laid on my back and I closed my eyes, my third eye opened and I was like, what? That's real? No way. And I started thinking about this class I took in university. It was called Religion 101, and we learned about out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, and all of that. And I was always so fascinated by all of it. And so anyway, I was like, what the fuck? This is real. Oh my gosh. And so anyway, I sit up out of my physical body, and I didn't even realize I was sitting up out of my physical body. It felt like I was still in my normal body. And I look over at my husband. I'm like, babe, Cesar, wake up. And he didn't hear me. He was just sound asleep, wasn't moving. And I was like, what the heck? And I started getting frustrated and aggravated. And I went to go push him, to wake him up. It was so funny. And I flew out of my body, literally just floated right on out. I was flying over him, to the side. And my stomach was facing my physical body. And I saw him sleeping. And I looked over at myself and I was like, what the? And I was like, oh, I look so cute. I looked at my physical body like a little kid. I was like, oh, cutie, it was pretty funny. And I looked at him and I could see an outline of him. He had this purple outline to him. And I was like, what the hell am I looking at? What is this? And I started looking around my room, and we had a 55-inch TV at the end of our bed. And it was plugged in, but the TV was off. And so I remember looking directly at the middle of the TV, and it was just this massive, swirling black portal. And I was like, there's a fucking portal in my TV. This is crazy. I'm like, why? Why is there a portal here? And I started looking around my room, and it was if you could physically see electricity almost, vibrations, that's what I was seeing. It was just the energy, you know how air is invisible? Well, it was the air wasn't invisible. It was you could see static moving around. I really don't know how to describe it other than static. And so then I was drawn to looking up at the corner of my bedroom, and there was about 3 to 4 dark entities just floating up there. I'm like, oh great, this has got to be good. And so I look at them, and keep in mind, I cannot hear anything out of my ears. It was like I was deaf. Like I couldn't hear shit out of my ears. And the only thing I could do was communicate telepathically. And so I looked at the entities and I was just asking them like so many questions. And I was like, who are you? What are you doing here? What do you want? Like, what are your names? And they were just staring at me. Like they literally didn't say a fucking word. And I was like, the fuck is your problem? Like, say something to me, you know? And I just kept asking them so many questions, like over and over and over. And they just ignored me. And I was like, okay, like this is weird. Like, why are you guys ignoring me? And so I was like, whatever, screw you guys. And so I just went like floated back over my body and I like turned around. I was like trying to lay on my back and I'm like, am I fucking stuck? Like, can I not get back to the physical? Like, this is crazy. And so the second that I felt a sense of fear, a sense of doubt, those dark entities flew at me. They flew specifically at my heart chakra. And from what I could see was my heart center was just this pure like golden light, like just emanating. It was like a golden light portal. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, get away from me, you psychos. Like, what is this? So I started like hyperventilating. Yeah, that was another thing. I could see and I could breathe out of my physical body. And so like my fear of death was just crushed. Like I was so not afraid to die anymore after that. I was like, oh my God, I can still breathe like out of my physical body. This is epic, you know? Like there goes that fear. But anyway, yeah, so I'm like hyperventilating, trying to breathe back into my physical body. And all of a sudden I could literally feel and see the shift of like myself leaving that dimension that I was in and coming back to the physical. And I remember like coming back into my body. There was like almost like this veil like of forgetfulness. Like I came back into my body. Like I just totally forgot how I popped back in there. And then I like woke up and I started touching my wall. I was like, oh my God, am I like back in my room? Like, oh my God, thank God. Like, and I didn't see the entities. So I was like, okay, I'm definitely back in the physical. And I looked over at my clock that was on the nightstand and it was exactly 5 a.m. And I was like, there's something to that time. There's something to that number 5. I don't know what it is. And fast forward up until 2023, I learned that Moldavite has like a 555 frequency, which is like the frequency and numerology of change, which is pretty fascinating. Because literally my life changed completely 360 since that out-of-body experience. And so anyways, the next day I went and saw this medium and she was like, oh, you contracted this to happen at this time. Like you just started your spiritual awakening, yada, yada, yada. You're going to be a healer and a teacher. You're going to be writing books and doing, you're going to be on TV, like just all this stuff. And I was like, what? Like me on TV, me writing books? Like, no way. I'm like, what could I possibly fucking teach about? How am I a healer? Like what? And so anyway, the more that time progressed on and I started doing past life regressions and just going within myself, doing inner work and meditations, hearing my spirit guides for the first time ever, I was like, oh my God, like this is fucking like mind-blowing and life-changing. Like there's just more to my existence than fucking, you know, the Matrix and living on automatic. Like there was more to my life and I'm so forever grateful for that out-of-body experience. I'm pretty sure I was in the etheric plane, not the astral. But yeah, it was a pretty life-changing experience, to say the least. So yeah, ever since then, I have had so many out-of-body experiences that I would love to share with you guys. But we'll save that for another podcast episode moving forward. But this is the out-of-body experience that started everything, that started my journey, that brought me to where I am today, to be in a position to be a healer and a teacher and to teach you guys how to heal yourself and basically become a vibrational match to your highest self reality. And that is my goal. And so throughout my podcast channel, I will host interviews and we'll go deeper into other topics that I personally have experienced. I will never talk about something that I haven't experienced. So yeah, awesome. Well, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode and my own personal story of my spiritual awakening and my out-of-body experience. And yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. Love you all so much.